So today I'm going to show you the average UK salary at every age and in each region, plus the exact salary you'd need to be in the top 30% and the top 10%. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly where you stand, but stick around because I need to show you why the average is not the real story and why all of us actually earn a lot more comparatively than we think. And you'll probably never view your salary in the same way again. So let's get started. I feel like I'm always comparing myself financially to other people, and I know it's not great, but sometimes I think, how can that person afford a holiday like that when I can't? Or a colleague of mine that just bought a really nice house, but they're a level below me. And with social media, I think our idea of income and lifestyle has become so warped that I wanted to do the research to see if I was crazy. And the data actually tells me a completely different story to what I had in my head, and I'm probably not as behind as I sometimes think I am. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, and everything in this video is for information and entertainment purposes. Please do your own research and speak to a financial professional before making any decisions. So in the UK, if you're between the ages of 18 to 21, the average salary you will be on is £24,394. And for a bit of context, a full-time job on minimum wage for anyone 21 and over works out at around £24,800 a year. So the average salary in this bracket is basically minimum wage. So honestly, that makes a lot of sense. You're at the very start, entry-level jobs, apprenticeships, essentially the first rungs of the ladder. But here's something interesting. To be in the top 30% for this age, you need £26,561, and the top 10% is just £32,939. So if you're earning 33k before your 22nd birthday, you're already out earning 9 out of the 10 people your age in the country. And just so you know, every number I'm about to share comes from the Office for National Statistics, the annual survey of hours and earnings. So this is the official earnings data, and it's what the government uses to set the minimum wage. So these are full-time salaries before tax. Next is 22 to 29, and this will likely be the largest percentage jump you will ever get. The average salary here is £35,760. That's over £11,000 more than the bracket below, a jump of nearly 50%. Here, I think degrees start paying off, first promotions land, and people change jobs to move their way up. To be in the top 30%, you'd need £38,558, and the top 10% for your 20s is £52,197. When I read this, it was easy to see how the goalposts had moved. The top 10% went from 33k to 52k, so the salary race has now properly started. Now in your 30s, 30 to 39, which I form part of at 35, this is typically the biggest jump you'll get, not in percentage but in actual pounds. The average salary for 30 to 39-year-olds is £48,421. That's £12,500 more than your 20s. For me, I suppose, this is when you start moving into more senior and managerial roles. This is the decade where careers compound, experience stacks up, seniority kicks in, and this is where the average person crosses that national average salary for the first time. So in this age group, the top 30% is £50,797, but look at that top 10%, £75,041. That's now £27,000 clear of the average. Your 30s is where the pack properly spreads out. Some people plateau, others pull away, and the gap between them just gets wider and wider from there. Now, if you're finding this video useful or interesting, please do me a favor and click the like button. It helps YouTube spread this video to more people, and I'd really appreciate it. Okay, so the next bracket is literally the top of the mountain in terms of earnings and salaries, because we've hit 40 to 49, the peak earning years of your entire life. The average salary here is £54,591, the highest of any age group. Decades of experience, senior roles, high-level management position. This is as good as it gets on average. The top 30% here is £56,343, and to be in the top 10% in your 40s, you'd need £88,658, nearly 90 grand a year. Now, if you think this is a huge salary, or maybe you actually think, well, that's nothing, I was earning that 10 years ago, then you might want to wait until we get to the part where we talk about regions, because whether you live in London or the Northeast can make a huge difference on your average earnings, but also how much you have to spend in order to live there. Now, in your 50s, 50 to 59, the average salary actually starts to go backwards, which is maybe earlier than you would think, because the average salary falls to £53,349, only about £1,200, but the climb is over. Promotions slow down. I'm sure many people deliberately step back and slow down on the way to retirement. The top 30% for this age group is £53,868, just £519 above the average. So take a second to think about what that actually means. The average salary is a number that about 7 out of 10 people in this age group don't earn. How is that possible? How can the maths actually work if the average is something that the majority of people are below? So just remember that question, because we'll answer it shortly. And lastly, the 60 and over. As you expect, the average here drops again to 46,794. That's nearly 8 grand off the top, even among people still working full-time as careers wind down and people shift into less demanding roles. And here we see it again. The top 30% is 46,951, just £157 above the average, the exact same pattern. So what is going on with these numbers? Well, let me tell you what the average really means and why your salary might actually be much higher than you think. Because everything you've seen so far is called the mean average, which is what the government usually reports on and tells us. You take everyone's salary, add them all together and divide it by the number of people, which sounds logical, right? But there's a big problem with it. Imagine 10 people in a room. 9 of them earn £30,000. The 10th is a Premier League footballer on £5 million. The mean salary in that room is over £500,000, and yet not a single one of them actually earns it. That's what a small number of very high earners does to an average. They drag it up and far away from real life. That's why for everyday people, the median makes the most sense. If you line every worker in the country up from lowest paid to highest paid, the person standing right in the middle is the median. So the mean full-time salary in the UK is £48,512, but the median, the actual middle earner, is £39,039. That's about £10,000 difference. The person in the middle of the country earns almost 10 grand less than the average. And that's why the average kept landing at the top 30% line in those older age brackets, because the average person is actually not the middle person. So if you've been watching this video and like me at times thinking, wow, I'm actually behind everyone else, well, you're probably a lot better off than you thought. And it's just the way the numbers are reported that can make us feel behind, because we've been comparing yourselves to a number that most of the country doesn't actually earn. But there's another really important factor here that you don't want to miss, and that's about where you live that makes all the difference to the average. Because the average salary in London is £70,275. But the average in the Northeast is just £39,859. That's a £30,000 gap inside the same country. And we also have Wales, Yorkshire, the East Midlands, all sitting around the 40k mark. So the same 45k salary makes you comfortably above average in Newcastle and below average in London. Same job title, same payslip, completely different life, because what really decides how wealthy that salary feels to you is what's left after the rent or the mortgage comes out, or how much a steak costs in the south versus the north. And that will also be a huge difference between London and the northeast. So when someone tells you what a good salary is, the question to ask is, a good salary where? I think these days almost nobody feels well paid, and maybe it's because we're always looking up. We're always following celebrities or people we admire and wonder why we don't or can't have that life. We see our friends' holiday, but we don't see the credit card bill. We see the new house, but we don't maybe see the lifestyle sacrifices they took to get there. But perhaps the biggest problem is us constantly comparing ourselves in the first place. With the salary, as with other things in life, it's not about the size, it's about how you use it. Someone with a top 10% salary can still be underwater with debt and obligations, trying to portray a lifestyle they can't afford. So perhaps it's about avoiding lifestyle creep. It's putting away to save and invest, no matter how seemingly small. It's about finding what's important to you and prioritizing your finances around that. Your salary is just a number, but your wealth is built by your behavior. If you want to see more videos about how to build wealth and improve your financial standing in life, then please remember to subscribe to the channel and to like the video if you haven't already. Any questions, put them in the comments. Thanks you for watching, and I'll see you next Wednesday as always on Cash for Cash. Cheers.